Well, hello there. I don't know about you, but this time of year really puts me in the mood for something. Getting my documents notarized. Until 2011, getting your documents notarized was one of the very last things that you had to do in person, apart from dying. That is, until a Virginia law made way for Notarize, the world's first online notary service. But if a startup launches in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? 8 years ago, no one knew it was possible to notarize documents online. So no one was looking for Notarize. They had some awareness to build, and fast. Sounds like a problem for Education Man, or just plain old education, I guess. Today on Marketing is Broken, I'm joined by Ryan MacInnis, Director of Marketing at Notarize. He'll tell us why and how Notarize makes educational content the main focus of its marketing strategy. And he'll share the notable ways it's helped build the brand. As of today, I've been inside for 23 days straight. Why? Because there's literally no reason to leave the house. These days, I get my groceries dropped off, my pet supplies delivered, and my prescriptions mailed right to my pale, uncalloused hands. Now, I used to have to get all dolled up and leave the house to get things notarized. But ever since the internet extended its digital tentacles into the notary space, I've been able to stay comfortably ensconced in my room with a view. I had no idea it was possible to get documents legally notarized without wearing pants until I happened to discover a blog post about how online notarization works. The website I landed on? Notarized.com, which has made a brisk business out of closing the gap between potential customers' search queries and its next sale. Because even though Notarize is doing something incredibly convenient, and even though a full 25% of people say they'd use an online notary service, just 8% of the US population has heard of Notarize. That's roughly the same number of people who actually wanted the free U2 album. The company had to start from the very top of the funnel to educate, attract, and sell to new consumers. And judging by its #1 position on Google's organic results for online notary, boy, is that strategy working. I've got Notarize's Director of Marketing, Ryan MacInnis, here with me today to tell me all about the company's well-oiled content machine. He'll share how Notarize decides what content to create, who makes it, and how the company's content creation team works with its paid media team to create one super slippery sales funnel. So when it comes to growing brands, how do educational content pieces like the remote online notarization guide help bring customers to you?
Yeah, so the remote online notarization guide for us was really a combination of a lot of things we had been hearing in the field and in the industry that we were serving in real estate as well. So we've been involved in passing legislation for remote online notarization for the last 5 years or so. And the biggest question we get is not, hey, how does it work to get a document notarized online, but what is remote online notarization? I think if you describe to somebody what it is, you connect with a notary over FaceTime, you're able to get your document notarized in less than 15 minutes. It gets emailed to you as a PDF. It sounds like a much better world to live in than the one that we currently do. But there are a lot of things on the back end that people have a lot of questions on. I'm in a state that hasn't passed legislation. Can I do this? My lender, if I'm in real estate, doesn't accept this. How can I convince them? There's a lot of like tactical questions around the legality and kind of the ecosystem that supports it. So we had been hearing these questions for about 6 months. At the end of last year, we were like, what's our moonshot of 2019? So what if we wrote a physical book? And none of us had written a physical book before. Some of us had done some self-publishing on Kindle, but this was a way for us to write kind of like the de facto guide to every question you possibly could have had around remote online notarization. It was co-authored by our general counsel, Michael Chodos, who was a part of writing a lot of the legislation. And it actually got about 4,000 downloads in a few months. And
Wow.
it was one of those light bulb moments that we just didn't realize how many people had these questions because we simply couldn't have that many conversations. So the
Sure.
beauty of this piece of content was that people were coming to us because we weren't trying to talk to them about Notarize. We were trying to help them understand what this technology was all about. Of course, like once you understood it, we'd love to work with you. But the most impactful educational content tries to solve a problem that most people are facing today that doesn't really have a really heavy right hook call to
Sure.
action. It answers a lot of questions that seem to be unanswered.
That's such a great insight there. So let's dig into that a little bit more. So let's talk about how does that
content machine work? You mentioned getting people involved in the organization. What process did you go through to identify, create, publish, and promote the remote online notarization guide, for example?
Yeah, so for us, obviously, talking about what the impact would be, of course, as marketers, we're a team of 5. We're a pretty lean
It's
organization.
a light
So
team. Yeah,
super light team. So we have to really focus on what we think will be most impactful. A lot of the sales conversations, for example, we're getting hung up in, I still don't understand this concept. Before I even talk to you about becoming a customer of the product, I don't understand the technology itself. So for us, it was a way to actually qualify people a bit better in the funnel. So we really wanted to build the business case, if you will, within our team. So we talked about this is going to take 4 or 5 months between outlining, writing, fact checking, working with our general counsel who's all over the road, actually trying to get legislation passed in other states. How do we coordinate this all? And then obviously, what does success look like? What do we want this to be used for? Obviously, in sales conversations on the website, we want to see if we can get this picked up by maybe the National Association of Notaries. It's just one of those things where we came together and we knew how long it would take. And then we went digital first, so we published on the website. I think that was most important. So PDF first, and if you really wanted to get on the list to get a physical copy, we had a way to capture your information, so we knew that you were kind of even more interested. And then we had a price point on Amazon for about, I think it's $6 right now. That seems to be where a lot of people are really comfortable getting it, and it becomes one of the most requested pieces of swag or handouts at conferences or wherever we go.
sure.
So it's kind of,
Yeah.
we knew it would have that lifespan, that long life of being able to be used across different teams, and that's how we were able to obviously validate the problem that we were trying to solve, and then actually say, like, this isn't going to be a one and done thing. It's not just a blog post because we didn't publish anything this week. This is actually going to make our customers more successful and our sales team more successful.
So that's really interesting because I think a lot of companies or brands, they have like a content process, and every idea has to kind of like go through it like a factory, and
Yeah.
it kind of comes out not always looking the way that it needs to, or to have that engagement. What you're saying is your team is more like French chefs using all the different ingredients, trying to maximize the output of these kind of finite resources that your company has, since there's only 5 of you. So I love that approach. So what kind of advice do you have for companies that are looking to focus harder on creating this type of content that's educational, that helps solve this problem?
Yeah, I think a couple of pieces of advice. One, it comes down to hiring when you're building a marketing team. Obviously, the last 3 companies I've worked for, I've either been the first marketing hire or kind of part of that first or second group of folks hired. And a lot of our marketing team members have journalism experience. And great writers are great communicators. They understand that inverted pyramid way of telling stories, the most important information first and then supporting context afterwards. And so it starts there, where it's getting people who understand how to tell great stories. And then from there, I think the next piece of advice that I would give is, don't focus so much on the success of the medium as much as the topic. So if a blog post isn't successful, that doesn't mean it couldn't be successful as a webinar,
Sure.
because people choose to digest content in different ways. Like when the ebook did really well, marketer's signal goes off and says, great topic, great medium. Where else can I splice this offering to go on a webinar, to be a featured session in a content in our event that we just put on last month? So really not to focus too much on like the success of a piece of content based on the channel, but really trying to make sure you're open-minded enough to say, we have 6 or 7 channels we can distribute content, whether it's webinars, op-eds, on our website, with our partners, whatnot. How do we just sprinkle a little bit throughout? And then you start to understand patterns. Because to your point, a lot of marketers do have blueprints. A lot of content teams have this engine they put content through. And sometimes it's more impactful to think about where that piece of content would best serve the people you're trying to reach, as opposed to, we need to fill a spot in our blog this month. What's our content calendar look like? What are we going to do? And approaching it more of, what content do we think our customers would best enjoy, or what would unblock the most prospects in the funnel, and then figure out what the medium is.
That's super great advice for everyone. So thank you so very much, Ryan MacInnis, for your time today.
Absolutely. Take care.
Wow, what a great conversation. And not just because it's the first human interaction I've had in days. Now it's your turn. Does your brand create educational content? How's it working out for you? Tell me in the comments. Please, I'm so lonely. Hey, it's Josh from Brandish Insights. Thank you for watching Marketing is Broken. If you like this week's episode, please click below to subscribe or check out other episodes. And if your company could use more insights around your branding efforts, check out brandishinsights.com.